Hey, this is the second video for Sprint 1 Week 2. Last video I just covered Chapter 1 of the Interaction Design book. It was basics of interaction design and getting a feel for user UX design and some terms that we talked about with like usability, such as effectiveness, um, efficiency, learnability, memorability, ease of use, engagement, fun factors, and so on. So, what we want to get you to is by this Sunday, you're going to finish your midpoint deliverable. I have the sample up on the screen. Um, so, you're going to have something similar like this, a lot of text written out in your Canvas posting. Do not just attach up a PDF or link to a Google Doc. You need to write out your whole midpoint deliverable with text and embed images right in a Canvas posting. Come to lab time if you need help with that. The reason for that, it's very easy for students to give you feedback, to read your posting, give feedback, and for the teacher to give feedback as well. Later on this week, we'll have a video on how to give feedback on people and how to build your posting. But for right now, you could say that we have this document purpose. So we ask you to just kind of reflect back, think about what the point of this document is, like who you're writing this to, what answers you're trying to solve. So for us, we wrote out providing a high-level overview of the project to an interested general audience. You could think of it like an elevator pitch, that you're just trying to get your ideas out on paper just to keep yourself organized across a project or for other team members, for a teacher, what have you. So as you can see here, it's to help explain a project at a high concept level to stakeholders and to the general public. Stakeholders are people who have a vested interest in your project or might be interested in it. In any case, read through our document purpose. It's just a few sentences and try to rehatch it in your own words. Try to explain what the point of this is. Why are you trying to research a project or state your ideas in a clear way before you actually attempt to build the project? So the overview is pretty straightforward. Remember, this is a living document. It's going to be changing throughout the course of the semester. You're going to want to have a title, just some type of name. For us, it's Where's Rudy? Why that? Well, there's some personal history to this that actually is probably going to have to be explained in the game introduction. That this is a name of an animal that was part of a rescue effort, so it's kind of a personal thing, so it actually has to be explained to the general audience why that name makes sense. The platform is WebGL Build. The higher subject level is biology. So we kind of knew going in we want to do something about wildlife. Well, what's wildlife or wildlife conservation? Well, that's really part of a larger term that we'll call ecology, how populations of animals and plants thrive and coexist together in these larger ecosystems that we have around the world. And it also encapsulates like how human populations change the ecology around them, the environment, and how human impact happens upon these animals and plant populations. And it's these broad populations that we term ecology. And then actually that is a smaller subject within a larger science that we call biology. And that's kind of the largest encapsulation of the educational subject matter. So I kind of worked backwards from my kind of smallest learning focus, teaching focus, which was wildlife conservation, and said, oh, this is part of ecology, this is part of biology. Again, we refer back to last week how we were looking through the Wikipedia pages, we were looking through the educational book publishing site. Also think back to your own educational journeys through the public school system, through college, and think about how they break down subjects to try and fill this out. Come to lab time if you need help. And then the learning level for us was middle school or grades 6 to 12. For this, we thought children younger, it would be a little bit too much of a complicated effort to use the computer and diagnose photos of wildlife conservation from researchers, and to like run little simulations with how human populations affect animals. So we thought, okay, maybe elementary school is too young, maybe middle school is more appropriate. Also, high schoolers seem to, this seems a little bit too simple. And for young adults or for teenagers, they seem to be, in general, maybe a little bit more sarcastic, or they might be a little bit more, need something a little bit more complicated to focus their efforts on. So this is how we chose to focus down on the middle school age. Um, and this is all coming from a general effort that you could kind of see we started to write out the proposed educational software solution. So this is very high level, very vague, and it's going to change because it's just a general direction that we're trying to pick. We work in educational technology, and we kind of befriended some researchers, and this kind of led us, we interviewed them, and this kind of led us to being, well, these are our stakeholders, and we took this direction. And it's also kind of a passion project, which hopefully you'll pick one of your passions as well. But this is what guided us to build this overview, to picking the audience, age group, the main focus, the subject, and what have you. We're actually not going to have you fill out the proposed educational software solution yet, because that's going to be a later video once I cover chapter 3 of interaction design, and you can think a little bit more about how to state a learning problem, our learning goal, and how might the software approach that. So you can leave that section empty for now, but at this point, if you could please go ahead, fill out the document purpose, fill out the overview, and the overview is just a very broad direction of where you think you're going to go over the course of the semester. And so just fill it out. You might have some alternatives, that's fine as well. So the main part of this video is we're going to look at how to review competing software and how to suggest improvements for that competing software once you use it. So these two sections we're going to review in this video, and we're going to ask you to go forward and go review some competing software in the area that you're looking. So once you filled out the overview, that should give you some general hunting abilities on Google or what have you to see what other educational software or educational technologies, games, analog stuff, anything that is already in the space that you can review. So with usability and interaction design and user experience design, are thinking about how do you feel when you use a piece of software in mind. Let's go forward and review the 3 pieces of software, and then you should be comfortable enough to go out and do it yourself. So based on the fact that we wanted to do wildlife conservation, Jess went out and looked at competing softwares, and here's 3, Zuniverse, eMammal, and the Pack. And the first 2 are more of like a web-based platform to help, like either help researchers pick elements in photos, like large databases that they need help sorting through, or using these large photo sets to help you like understand it, what mammals look like, and it turns it into kind of a game. And then the last one is a full-on PC game. So they kind of range in how much game elements or how much gamification or how much of a game the educational software is. So for the first one, Zuniverse, this is what the website looks like. It's kind of like a Wikipedia, a listing of projects. All the projects are basically research projects about, it's not just about wildlife, but it looks like anything from classifying galaxies, accounting penguins. So it can be about telescopes or microscopes or wildlife photography, but I guess the gist is there's tons of photos or data visualizations that they need help classifying on. So you can, that's kind of the broad core mechanic of this software, that researchers can come here. I guess they can follow some type of template, and they can like build a portal to their project to crowdsource to help young people or anyone interested. Like teachers could use this in their classroom as a teaching instrument, but then the researchers also get the benefit of people helping classify elements in their photographs. So what's a good one to pick?
Go to the penguin one. Let's go up. And go to the iguana one.
All right, so we'll pick the iguana one. So it's kind of like a home page for a website. The researchers kind of load up a description of their project and some photos. And so it looks like from a gist of it, there's like a learn more, like a tutorial and a get started. So we could learn more. We could, this is kind of, for your prototype, you'll have an intro page, a tutorial page. This is kind of an introduction, like it grounds the user in the point of the project. So a bunch of text, a bunch of images. Okay, we're dealing with iguanas, and here's like these islands that they're on, and who you're helping fund, and all this great stuff. The only issue I see here is that once I'm in here, I can't jump into the project. So I'm having some issues in navigation, or so some usability issues with moving around here, because now that I learned about the project, I just want to go and do it. So I'll use the back button and just go to get started. And it appears like that was like the intro. Here's like the tutorial then. So get you grounded, some information about the iguanas and the Galapagos Islands. And here's how like they'll set you up with like a searching pattern through the image, how to like effectively move through images to try and find these elements. This is what's in the iguana, or the element that we're looking for, looks like. And how to spot them when they're really small and really big. So this is good. This is a good tutorial. This gets me going quickly. And we got some males. Sure, I guess it specifies that males and females look differently, so maybe they're going to tag based on males and females, or adults and children. And here's if there's too many, or if there's ones that you can diagnose correctly. And then other stuff to be aware of: blurry images and artifacts. So it gets you trained as the user on this educational software. Oh, so here's some more stuff. I guess when you have mixtures of other sea life, including sea lions and birds, and how to diagnose them. So, plastic. So I guess maybe we're looking for garbage to see if there's a human effect on the ecology of these islands. Okay, they share a habitat with other algae. So I guess if you look around, you see algae, you might be able to find the iguanas closer. And great, we're trained. We went through a tutorial. Let's go find some iguanas. So in the tutorial, they were talking about how you can navigate through these photos. You can zoom in and out on them if you need to. I guess this is rotation, sure. And then it says task. Here's your task. This is a tutorial we just went through. And do you see any iguanas in this photo? Yes, no. The photo is too blurry. So I'll take a moment to look at it. Everything seems pretty clear to me. I can see all the plant life, and I really don't see anything in here. So I'm just going to say no. Let's go to the next one. Now, the final task with this photo, let's see if there's sea lions, birds, turtles, crabs, plastics, algae, or unknowns. So I could say there's plants, but the whole thing is a plant. So maybe I might specify a few areas where there's plants, and I'm done with this photo. Sounds like need some help with the task. Maybe if this is confused, it looks like there's a fun way to interact with some people. I don't know if that's an email, or you have to wait, or if it's real time. So here's a top-down photo. Do you see any iguanas? Maybe I could zoom in.
Zoom in a little bit.
So these little buttons here are the interactions to help me hunt around. And then I have the main decision point here. Is there an iguana? So it's pretty useful. I just had some little issues before with like the main navigation of the intro and moving into here. But once you're in here, it's pretty easy to use. And, you do need to be a little bit older to use. I think a small child will get lost in this. But depending on their age group that they meant to build this for, if like high schoolers, middle schoolers, I think this is age appropriate. But anyway, back to the hunt. I don't think I see anything here. And I don't see anything else. No garbage, red allergy, or anything. Now that I've actually hunting, I actually realized how good that tutorial was, what they were talking about. Because I was getting a little bit of information overload with the tutorial. They just kept going. It was like, what's the point of all these sea lions, birds, and turtles? But now I'm starting to see that there's a lot of things that they're hunting for. And so in general, I have no main complaints about the interactions. It's pretty straightforward, just a bunch of buttons. I don't think they need anything different. It's a pretty simple interaction point. You're hunting through photos. And I can zoom and rotate. It'd be nice if I had like a reset button. And also like dragging the image off on the side. Like, let me move to the drag tool. See, and I'm kind of placing instead of dragging. So I think when you move to the corner.
It would be nice if there was a kind of guide to kind of help you to move through the image more slowly so that you're not just zooming in and out constantly. Like they've told you about the zigzag pattern to move your eyes from left to right and kind of zigzag down the image.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
If there was a way that they can kind of like chunk the photo at a certain fixed distance or something. Also the tutorial, when you have a lot of instructions or a lot of information, the less text, the better. So really, if there was a tutorial of somebody actually doing this, like what happens when you see this? Okay, I see like a pile of rocks. So it'd be good to see how somebody reviewed this. Just kind of watch someone do it.
Sure.
Otherwise, it's just kind of like essays of instructions, and you don't really want that.
Yeah, the tutorial was a lot, so I started jumping through it. So if I see somebody going through the process, that'd be really helpful. But in total, the interface is pretty easy to learn. It's just the amount of things you're hunting for and why is a little overwhelming at first. So maybe introduce parts of it at a time and then introduce more parts later. Like let's just hunt for iguanas first. And then say, okay, you seem to get that. Let's go hunt for some other animals. Then let's go hunt for some algae and plants because it was overwhelming at first. So you might want to break this down.
So for learnability, like if I was going to, kind of rate this, which you guys should do when you evaluate an application, an educational software application, you want to think like how easy or hard is this for me to learn how to use right now? So for me, it's like maybe like a 5 or 6. Cause I get it. You mark the parts in the image that it's asking you to look for, but there isn't much guidance or instruction on how to actually see the things that you're looking for. And that's kind of like the main point of the whole application. So if you don't really know how to find what you need to look for, then it kind of feels like, all right, kind of takes out the fun of it. You're not really doing anything. So that's for learnability. That's something, try to think like on a scale from 1 to 5, how hard or easy is this for me to learn how to use? That kind of thing. For me, it's like a 5.
Yep.
Not great.
And so that reminds you that you're like giving work to the user. So this is great. You're you're giving benefit, social benefit to the world. You're helping these researchers, and you can use it as a learning tool. So teachers, it's interesting for a teacher to use because they feel like they're giving benefits to researchers and they're having their students learn, but it's still kind of like a working task you're giving your users or making the students kind of work. So you kind of have to make sure that engagement's even higher because this isn't fun. This isn't a game. It's not a simulation. It's almost a forced labor activity. So I would say like just make sure that it's super high, like reinforce some fun, engaging principles actively throughout that to keep them going.
So if you hit done, maybe see if the images get a little bit more exciting. I don't know. We need to sign in. But as far as engagement factors,
no, I don't know why this like the photo window is really bad. It's got really small.
Yeah.
So at first glance, I don't see any iguanas. But anyway, so this is how we wrote out. I just critiqued and reviewed this Zuniverse. So here's like the review. It's just a few sentences. As we were talking, we just kind of reviewed it. What's the point? What are kind of some of the core mechanics or interactions? How's it functioning? What's a platform? It's a website. It's a way for researchers to crowdsource their work, as long as it's image-based. And we'll review the others in the next video. But just note that as we're starting to critique just one piece of software, you can start dropping down bullet points. So this is critiquing all of our software that we reviewed, and it's kind of like, well, we saw some good, maybe we can look at these. We saw some bad, maybe we can improve that elements. But this is suggested improvements of all the software we're reviewing. So we just reviewed one software. We can place down like, oh, better engagement. You're going to make the users work. You better make sure it's really fun. Maybe make some levels, some point system, a leaderboard, some badges, some way to just make it fun for the young students to use it. Also, the tutorial was super long and all these animals. Let's introduce a few elements that we want to search for, then have them do it, and then maybe introduce some more, maybe ease them in. Don't just front load them because it's a lot to process at the beginning. So anyway, here's some, and then how to improve that, which I just offered some suggestions as I was talking. So we're going to continue this, but at least you get a gist of how to start reviewing the software. We'll review the other two in another video.